Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to an episode of Camilla and I. And we're really lucky today to have my good friend Jonathan Hodgetts along with us today.
Hello.
Because he has the 400 to 800 millimeter, and result we'll be able to review it for you today on Camilla and I. So we thought we'd come to Stanpit Marsh, Christchurch. Quick flip you around, see what I mean? Yeah, we've got this scene today, Christchurch off in the distance, and various tweeters around. And we thought we'd come today, I thought we'd try Stanpit Marsh. And there's one bird in particular that I thought would be a good test for the 400 to 800 millimeter, and that is the wheatear. That's turns up usually every year, except for this year, but it should be every year. The wheatear turns up, and it's a small bird which is ground hugging and feeds on the ground. And we thought this would be an ideal subject to get for you today on Camilla and I, and test out the 400 to 800 millimeter. Anyway, Jonathan is using obviously the 400 to 800 millimeter on the A1 too, and I'm going to use my method of getting to 840 millimeters, the 600 millimeter f4 with the 1.4 teleconverter, and the same body, the A1 too. So anyway, we'll give it some initial impressions. So yeah. Anyway, over to you, Jonathan.
And this, I've only just started using it. I've only been out with it twice. My first impressions are great fun, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, that's it. You've got to put it to test in the real world. And you're telling me you only used it so far in sort of like cloudy conditions.
Rather poor weather conditions the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So it has not been a very good test with no great subjects. So
standard English weather.
Today will be the first time to try it in some good light.
Okay. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to go out, try the lens out on these ground hugging birds. There are other birds as well. If the wheatear aren't here yet, they should be here. But we'll give it a go, and we'll report back to you. I'll do a little bit of footage as we're going round. Right, so we're just walking this short distance to the
There's something big over there. They egrets.
Yeah, usually there's egrets around. There's spoonbills as well potentially at Stanpit Marsh. It's quite a lot visits Stanpit Marsh. It's not a bad reserve at all. Yeah, I've had most things here. So I had the osprey flying overhead here. That was full frame images of the osprey I had here, which is quite unusual, right from underneath. I was actually looking at me at one point, the osprey. And of course you also get the white-tailed eagles, do occasionally fly overhead. And a couple of years ago there was glossy ibis here for quite a while. One glossy ibis particularly liked the area. So yeah, Stanpit Marsh is a good testing ground for subjects, let alone new lenses. Anyway, yeah, we'll follow Jonathan. So how heavy is that lens, Jonathan?
It's okay. It obviously feels heavier than the 300s.
Yep.
But it's not noticeably heavier than the 200 to 600.
No.
The difference is not sufficient that you can actually feel the difference.
Yeah.
So anyone that's happy carrying around 200, 600, I don't think will have any problems.
Yeah, and the controls are identical to the 200 to 600?
Yes. And the zoom ring is very much like the 200 to 600.
Literally that 90-degree twist.
Less than 90 degree, I would have said about 80 degree.
80-degree twist, amazing. 400 to 800.
Yeah.
That's 200 to 600. And there's one more button on the barrel, the direct manual focus button.
Direct manual focus one.
And that's it, basically.
I do use the direct manual focus all the time with the primes.
Yeah, I do on the primes, I must admit, I've always got it on. that ability just to twist the focus ring to gain focus on your
Particularly
subject.
if the subject's in the bushes or whatever and the autofocus is not locking in on it.
Yeah.
You can get in close with the manual focus and then it's usually okay.
Yep. Well, we're coming up to the chosen target area, which the wheat ear usually hang out here at Sandpit Marsh. So just flip you around, show you what I mean. There's various gorse bushes around this particular little hill. Can't remember the name of the hill off the pat now. Stick it in the comments if anybody knows. Anyway, yeah, it's a little hill in the middle of the reserve, but it's surrounded by these various gorse bushes, and obviously that's what the birds retreat to in times of trouble. And indeed, a sparrowhawk I did see once in this particular area flying across, so yeah, sometimes they do need to take cover. Anyway, this is the target area. This grass sort of scrubland here. Oh, you see that bird there?
Yeah.
Zoom in on that one, please. Get Jonathan, zoom in on that bird. I think it's a curlew, but has it got a long beak?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a curlew. Just out on the middle of the green. Anyway, as I'm filming this, I'm not able to get the shot, but Jonathan has locked in that 400 to 800.
I've got a shot there, I think. Might have an image you can shove in.
Shove in an image there, lovely, okay. Anyway, what we'll do is, now we're in the chosen area, what I normally do is have a little look on the top of the gorse bushes and see if there's anything posing. Oh yeah, curlew, without a doubt. So we'll have a little look on top of these gorse bushes, and then we'll work our way back to the green area, where we'll probably lie prostrate on the ground and wait for the birds to come to us. But anyway, this is a good hunting area for small birds, and obviously a great subject today for the 400 to 800. So brilliant. Anyway, I'll put you down now and I'll catch you in a minute. Okay. Well, trying to get these wheat here has proved impossible so far this morning. Basically, they're not here. They're either not here yet, or they're hidden, hunkered in the bushes, because there's a stiff breeze, 25-mile-an-hour gust today, and they're not out. But hopefully, we have captured a number of birds for you on this test run with the 400 to 800 millimeter. I'll pour it a sec. Yeah. Yes. Now, the one thing we have noticed in particular, Jonathan and I, is that the 600mm plus teleconverter is considerably heavier than the 400 to 800mm. An incredible lightweight combination. So portability and usability is definitely a win for the new lens, without a doubt. So yeah, this is far easier to get into position in the field, and far more flexible, going from 400 to 800mm, whereas I'm stuck with this Goliath at 840mm f5.6, and this is 400 to 800 f6.3 to f8. Amazing.
And although we haven't seen the target species, I've shot lots of other things, so there should be some demo photos.
Yeah, excellent, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan has been very busy. I don't know what I've been doing, but I've been out in the gym, I think, working out. But yeah, Jonathan has shot thousands of images for you already. Filled a card almost.
Well, it's about 5,000 images.
5,000 images, not bad. So there should be something to show you anyway today. But yeah, we haven't got many comparisons really. I don't know what I'm doing today. So I'm weightlifting. But I think I would get far more shots, I must admit, with my walk around combination, where the 600mm using the 300 and the 2x tele. But there we are. It's like this in wildlife photography. Of course, it's not. This is a point I would point out at this point. It's not all about having a big lens. It is very important to actually get in on your subject and get close enough to your subject in the first place. Just because you own now a 400 to 800 millimeter lens doesn't mean that it's going to make you a better photographer, and you're not necessarily going to be able to get your shot, because it's all about the ability to get in on your subject. It's not just about having the 800 millimeter. It won't suddenly improve your wildlife photography. You've still got to put the legwork in. So anyway, I think we'll head back to the van now, and we'll go through a more general summing up, and then I'll show Jonathan's examples at the end. Hopefully I've got a couple of comparisons with this as well, but we have taken similar subjects, so we should have something to compare. Anyway, catch you in a minute. Cheers for now. Oh, thanks, Jonathan. Well, we've moved over to Blashford Lakes because it was a biting cold wind at Stampit Marsh, and it was very difficult doing a sort of comparison video in the extreme sort of 25-mile-an-hour gusts, and it was only 6 degrees, but it felt like -3.
It was like being back in the middle of winter.
Yeah, go and step back a bit of time. So anyway, so we moved over to Blashford Lakes, and we're currently photographing out of Ivy, north or south. I always get confused which one it is. Anyway, it's one of the two.
South, I think.
South, yeah. There's nobody in there anyway, so doing a quick comparison. And we've just shot a grebe, haven't we?
Yes.
And I shot it at 840, 5.6, 2,500, ISO 1600. And Jonathan, you set it at?
I was at ISO 800 at 2000 a second.
Right, yeah. Anyway, what I can say, on the back of the camera, Jonathan's eye detail, feather detail, looks absolutely superb. Better than the my photo. I did have -1 compensation on mine because of the particular. Yeah, quite amazing. Quite incredible. Anyway, yeah, seemed to be an amazing difference between the two. So that is definitely one we'll have to examine later on. But yeah, I'm pretty well impressed with that shot, and that was a total frame shot of the grebe, which just popped up in front of the shot, the hide. I mean, the shot itself's not going to win any awards because obviously it was shooting down on the bird, but still a very
as a test shot, it was good.
It was a very good comparison test shot. So yeah,
maybe in the video you can put both shots up beside each other on the screen.
I've certainly one now. And one now. So yeah, no, that's well worth a comparison, that one, and it was in very good light. Did hit the kingfisher about a minute ago, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Anyway, catch you in a minute.
That big stick.
Cormorant with a stick in its mouth. Obviously nest building. Yeah, quite a nice image again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, send us that one.
That's going to make quite a good image.
Yeah, if you can see that on the back. Go a bit closer. Oh. Should be able to see that. Yeah. No, I think, and I've taken a couple with the.
So far, I've been very impressed.
I know. I think very impressed with the image quality. Yeah, at the moment, initial impression is
Favourable.
very favourable. A better combination than this heavyweight here. I'm thinking it's better to focus at 800 millimeters in this combination. I think the 1.4 teleconverter is definitely having an effect on the focusing ability and on the quality of the image, going by what's on the back of your
that's what it looks like.
A1 so far.
We'll have to do a bit of comparison on the computer later.
Yeah, I mean they're identical bodies, so we should have identical pictures, but at the moment I don't think we do. I think there's an advantage, certainly in the better light. I mean, I think there are times you wouldn't be able to use an f8 lens though. I think that's where it comes in. I think you've mentioned that on Safari.
On Safari, maybe the first half hour, the last half hour of the day, the light would be too low. But I would have the 300 f2.8 with me as well, and I would simply take everything with the 300 f2.8.
In that scenario. Yep, yep. And yeah. So yeah, but for distance, portability, and usability, and flexibility,
yeah,
we're looking at a win for Jonathan again.
And the other advantage is that you can go back to 400 to find that small bird in the tree where you can't with the teleconverter on there.
Yeah, I'm totally stuck at 840 millimeters, so yeah, quite an advantage.
So it can be difficult at times to actually get on the subject.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then of course, yeah, literally focusing at 800 is where you get used to it. But I'm certainly very good at 600 millimeter, but 840 millimeter, getting your subject in the frame, even in the sky, is quite a challenge. So a big advantage to be able to pull back to 400 millimeters. So and then it's f6.3, isn't it, at 400?
Yeah.
What point do you think it converts to f8? 500?
I can't remember the exact, but it goes from 6.3 to 7.1.
Oh, right. Okay.
And it's at 590, it goes from 7.1 to 8. I can't remember where it goes from 6.3 to 7.
Oh, no, that doesn't matter. No, anyway, people can look that up.
So if you go just below 600, 590, you're 7.1 instead of 8.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, which could be useful. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think those are covering the practicalities of actually using the lens in the field, isn't it? I think that's covered most of those points. Amazing. Okay, anyway, getting a bit busy here, so we'll catch you in a minute.
Maybe try and rather hide.
Yeah, getting rather busy in this one, and there's not a lot in here. Considering so many people have turned up, there's not much here. Catch you in a minute. Somebody down the path using a very big lens, so further down here there must be something worth photographing over there, Jonathan.
It's a kingfisher or something?
Probably. Yeah.
Like a 600?
Yeah, somebody using the 600. Somebody's definitely an Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that's the one thing I'd take away from today's video is, boy, I know now why I don't use the 600 and the 1.4. Just on a sheer weight point of view at the moment. I must be getting old. Must be a total wimp, but it is about 3.5 kilos holding up, and just a little bit too much for me now, I must admit. Definitely go for the lighter weight combination. Awesome. Yeah, so no kingfisher yet, Jonathan, but
No.
a flash of blue would be nice.
It would. Always nice to see a kingfisher.
But yeah, we haven't checked that bokeh yet, but yeah, I mean, it's almost...
That's a question of what the bokeh is.
Yeah.
But that is going to be very dependent on the distance of the subject and the background.
Exactly, yep. You can manufacture your own bokeh to some extent, or bokeh.
Cheating.
It depends the separation between your subject and the background. So yes, I mean sometimes you do need a very shallow depth of field, and f4, and it can be very useful with the 600, and indeed f5.6 as opposed to 800 at the longer length. But
if you look at the charts, the 800 f8 is much the same bokeh as 600 f5.6, so that's just sort of like, it should be very similar to that.
Yep, so I don't think there'll be much in it at all. So although I don't think we've really been able to check that at all today. That's a more
so
long-term test. But yeah, we're sure it's going to be pretty similar. F5.6, 840, f8, 800. So yeah, okay. But yeah, let us know in the comments if anybody's got any information on the bokeh. But no, it's the reach. I mean, this is a lens for reach, and that's what we've been going for. So
Particularly useful in the UK with small birds.
yeah, very useful for small birds. Now it's got a bit duller. I suppose this is where the 600 f5.6 would be more useful, but it's debatable.
Hello, one stop is not a huge amount.
No.
You'll say one to 2,000, one to 4,000 ISO. Is it really going to make a huge difference if it's a usable photo or not?
No, and you've got to get it in position. And then I suppose the elephant of the room is the cost. I mean, at the moment, if you're not in America, sorry American fellows, your tariffs are looking horrendous for goods made in China. But at the moment, you can buy that lens for,
I don't know, about 2,500.
2,600.
You can put it up on the screen.
Put it up on the screen now. Yeah, from your local Castle camera supplier, hopefully. If not Wex Video, because they seem to have got it out early as usual. As opposed to the 600mm basic cost £12,000. You also need the teleconverter at another £480. And indeed, yeah, so that's literally 5 times the cost, I make it. Roughly 5 times the cost of the 400 to 800.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer, really. Yeah, if you want to get to 800mm, which here in the UK we'd suggest is a given, yes, I would definitely go for the 400 to 800. Would it totally make a 600 f4 redundant? No, of course not. If you're using it as a 600 f4.
If you want the absolute quality, maximum quality, you can do large size prints. And you're going to be shooting at 600. Probably the prime is still the one to go for.
Yep. So although I really like the 600mm, it is definitely for static positions, I suppose. You know, ideally I'm set up.
Unless you're a young, strong man.
Yeah, unless you're a young, strong man. I'm on the video head usually when I'm using the 600, and I'm usually in position for a known species, and I'm usually using it at 600. I must admit, wildlife beyond 600mm, it starts going into a different ballpark. It's not just the camera equipment. When you go beyond 600mm, an awful lot of diffraction, as we mentioned earlier, atmospheric conditions, this, that and the other. You tend not to be close enough to your subject. If you're using an 800mm, you're probably too far off in a lot of situations. So
It's a small subject.
unless it's a small subject, small tweeters, which we haven't really got today, which is a bit disappointing. We haven't got too many small birds to show you. But unless you're on a really tight small bird, that's where it is very useful on that situation. So I should think, as a bird photographer, absolute given the 400 or 800, wouldn't you say, Jonathan?
Yes, I would say if you're shooting smaller birds in the UK, it's perfect.
Perfect for small birds in the UK. Yep. Yeah, no, definitely.
Don't try shooting an elephant with 800mm. if it's that far away, there's going to be too much diffraction, and it's not going to be any good image anyway.
No, that's it. Yeah. So sharper, we're thinking at the moment. I will wait and see the photos, but we think the 800 straight off without a teleconverter is sharper.
It's got the edge.
It's got the edge on the back of the camera. It's definitely got the edge, which is quite remarkable. So will I be putting in will I be getting my 400 to 800? Well, I think I might have to, actually. As usual, Jonathan seems to win the day these days. You blew us away with the 300mm plus teleconverters.
You've loved it ever since.
And I've certainly loved that lens ever since. And I think it might be a similar position with the 400-800. Although I hadn't intended getting this lens, it's probably a bit of a bargain here in the UK.
Well, to me, they make a very good pairing of lenses. You've got the f2.8 when you need it with the 300, and if you've got the 300 and the 400 to 800, you've then got a huge range of focal ranges.
You've got it covered, haven't you, for all the
So
distance shots, yeah.
You're covered for distances and you're covered for lighting conditions as well, everything for very poor light.
I mean, the 300, you've got a 420 f4.
And when you think you could
1.4.
buy a 300, the teleconverters, and a 400 to 800, all for the less than the price of one 600 f4, and you've got a much more flexible kit, you know, to use there.
Yeah,
for all conditions.
For every condition, and it's portable because the 600 f4. Well, you carry it separate in your hand, don't you, to go through luggage control at the airport. So yeah, even for portability.
Well, I'm off to Africa in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking about taking the 300 and 400 to 800 pairing. We'll see how it goes.
And not taking the 600. Well, you just wouldn't be able to fit the 600 on with that.
Well, one of the problems is going to Africa is the weight limit on as well on the small planes.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it looks like Castle Cameras, they've got another sale. Anyway, definitely, yeah, 2,600. And will I be selling the 600? Well, no, not for specific locations. In a Kingfisher hide, things like that, particular setup. No, the 600 will still win.
If you got a 600 or a 400 prime, well, hold on to it. You've got a wonderful lens there. But if you're just starting out, really, is it worth the cost? With what else is available now?
Yeah, certainly start with the 200 to 600 perhaps if you're a real beginner, and then definitely move up to the 400 to 800.
And what's been so impressive today has been how good the autofocus has been. The fact that f8 aperture has not seemed to have hindered the autofocus at all. It locks on perfect every time.
And yeah, that is amazing. And I mean, obviously we are using also the Sony A1 too. Yeah. Obviously the best body, but I think you would get similar performance with lesser bodies, I think, equivalent to what you had before with the corresponding lens anyway. So yeah, quite amazing. Anyway, yeah, thanks Jonathan for bringing it along today and yeah, convincing us of you know, the need for a 400 to 800.
Well,
it's been
try it out and see.
Thanks very much, and I'll be getting my own copy, so yeah, I can lay my hands on it. But thanks for that, because I was struggling to get a copy from Castle Cameras. Anyway, cheers for now. Have a good one.
Bye for now.